this commenter says, any store reserves the right to refuse service to anybody for anything, and that is incorrect. No, a public business cannot refuse service to anyone for anything. While businesses have a general right to refuse service to protect staff and patrons, for example, unruly behavior, safety mistakes, or lack of hygiene, they cannot discriminate based on protected characteristics like race, color, religion, national origin, sex, or disability. And I think the problem is that we actually believe in this country that this statement is correct. You're a business. You can refuse service to anybody. And then people begin to mix their religious beliefs with their companies and their political beliefs with their companies, and then all of a sudden companies become a living entity rather than an inanimate object, right? All of a sudden companies are on the same footing as people. Your company doesn't have, for example, a religious conviction just because you have a religious conviction. When you create a company, when you create an LLC, or you create a corporate, an S corp, or something of that nature, Bob's Burgers Inc., Bob's Burgers LLC. The reason why you create that company, that corporate entity, that business entity, is to separate yourself from the business. You say, if anybody's going to come and eat at Bob's Burgers and they get sick and they sue me, then they're suing the company, not me. My home is protected, my car is protected, my personal assets are protected because I'm separating myself from the company. That's why you do it. And then you want to turn around and say, but I am the company. Then don't form a business. Just go to work as Bob. Get a little storefront and have Bob go out there and make some burgers. Well, no, I want legal protection. Then you want to separate yourself from the company. And see, when you deal with things like what we were talking about in that video, which is the baker, I think it was in Colorado, that refused to bake the cake for the gay couple. He did so because he said that his company carries his moral and religious convictions. Well, then you need to be personally responsible for the actions of that company if you want to intermix those two things. You don't get to have it both ways. You don't get to legally separate yourself from the company and say, but I am the company. No, then you put all your shit on the line as well. If you're in public, if you're in business to serve the public, you are in business to serve all of the public. And that's just the way it works. If I open a convenience store that serves the general public, with the exception of things like, it's a liquor store, so you got to be 21 to enter, or it's a tobacco shop, you got to be 18 to enter, right? With the exception of things like that, I'm serving the whole public, which means everybody gets to come in and partake in my services, unless they're being unruly, unless they're not, unless they're a safety or a health issue, then I have to take everybody. And in those people in that smoothie, in that video, the smoothie bar who refused to serve those people because they have MAGA shirts on or MAGA hats on, they're wrong too. But the point being is, if the right wants it so that the baker can't bake a cake for the gay couple, then they have to want the fact that the smoothie king doesn't have to bake a smoothie for the Trump supporter. Or we go back to doing it the way it's supposed to be, which is if you're in business to serve the public, you serve all of the public.